Whoa, whoa, whoa. Good morning. Good afternoon. My fault. Um, on this wild Monday, we recap the biggest, storylines and hot topics. I got my man, Fifth Down Sports, Deets. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. Still trying to recover from Saturday.
Mhm.
so it was a long day. Uh it started at 12 with Arkansas, and it didn't end until 3 in the morning in California. So
Mm. So, how's your polls sitting right now? Who's your number one college team right now? If
there,
you had to
there,
choose
there,
right now.
there shouldn't be any doubt in anybody's mind. Georgia's the best team in the country right now.
Mhm.
I think they cleared that. I think they cleared that up pretty well uh, this week with their game this week against Mississippi State. I think they stamped the number one spot.
A 45 burger.
45, and they only gave up 19. So that's why Georgia's the best team in the country right now. Is they can do it on both sides of the ball. The problems lie in 2, 3, and 4. That's where a lot of the question marks are.
Would it be wrong to put Tennessee at that two spot, or would you go with Michigan?
I would go with I've said it from the beginning of the season. I thought it was Michigan at the beginning of the season, and nothing that they've done has changed any of that.
Hmm.
So I would go with Michigan, um, because nothing I've seen from Michigan has told me otherwise. And not to mention, Blake Corum had another 100-yard day and another 3 touchdowns.
But Deets, you was right about that Penn State game, man. A shutout. You was definitely right with the baby Tua. It's something got to be wrong with him, man. He must be still injured.
Yeah, he's not right. He's not. Tallua is not. He's not right. And to be honest, he was never as good as Tua to begin with. So I mean, a lot of people want him to be his brother. He's not. He's not his brother.
Yeah, no doubt. But great win by I love that LSU game, man. The LSU Arkansas played tough, man. They played lights out, but it was just too much for them. The Tigers
Man,
were too much for them.
Melvin Perkins, or that guy Perkins. I mean, he burst onto the scene and he was all over the place.
Hmm.
LSU's got another defensive monster, and to go with the offensive mind of Brian Kelly, you're seeing what Brian Kelly, that everybody always questioned Brian Kelly. I mean, ever since his days at Cincinnati, people have questioned Brian Kelly. You're seeing how good of a coach Brian Kelly is.
I gotta say this though, man. Jason Taylor's son, he's a freak. He's a
Mason
great.
Mason Taylor is the real deal. He'll be the next tight end that dominates the game, and he's a true freshman. He's only 19 years old.
Man, he already got the blocking skills, uh, the catching. You know what he kind of remind me of, man? I hate to say it. He kind of remind me like a Kittle slash like Gronk, not with size wise, but just you know what I mean, a great blockers and a good receiver and tight end. You know what I mean? He got that.
What he is a hybrid. He's a hybrid between Gronk and those kind of guys and Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got the offensive capability of Jimmy Graham, and he's got the blocking skills of Gronk. Like that's unheard of.
Yeah, that's really is unheard of, man. But again, man, good win by Kelly, man. And at this time, you know they're gonna get a good bowl game.
Well, I mean, you got to give props to LSU's not done yet, and they clinched a spot in the SEC championship game. So, well, it's gonna be the chaos scenario is what happens if LSU wins the SEC.
Yeah,
and Georgia's sitting there with one loss. And LSU has 2 losses, but they won the championship and beat Georgia. What are you going to do if there's, obviously Ohio State and Michigan are going to settle themselves out. But what are you going to do with the rest of the 1-loss teams? Are you going to be able to vault LSU above any one-loss team? Are you going to be able to vault them up there? That's what we're looking at right now.
No doubt, man. How did you? What's your thoughts about your Fighting Irish, man? That was a tight game, a 3-point win. How do you feel about that, man? Is there any concerns about that? How Navy went down the field easily on them?
I mean, that's been typical of Notre Dame all year. Mm-hmm. The biggest question mark I have is what happens when they play an offensive juggernaut like USC.
Yeah,
that's the biggest question mark for this, and you didn't think that was going to be the case. You didn't think that you thought Marcus Freeman would at least come in and shore up the defense. That defense, the Notre Dame defense, is garbage.
And you know what I mean? Y'all was known to have good, you know what I mean, a good solid defense over the years, you know what I mean, from Kyle Hamilton of last year and the what's the guy, the Samoan, the Pacific Islander guy was
Manti Te'o.
Yeah, Te'o. You the list go on with the great defensive players that came to Notre Dame, you know what I mean? But this year it doesn't seem like y'all have any kind of defense, you know what I mean?
No, they were built. They were built on, and they were sold to us as having a stout defensive line. Well, you didn't see that. You didn't see that this weekend. They got dominated by a Navy by Navy.
And some of them boys are probably barely 200 pounds on that line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe 220. Nothing crazy though. But man, how you feel about that bounce back win from, you know what I mean? I'm glad my UT got a bounce back win. I know it was against a struggling Missouri team, but we needed that, you know what I mean, that win, that bounce back win.
Tennessee is basically just stuck in a holding pattern right now. Mm-hmm. They can only go down from here on out. I mean, they were probably the best thing for them was that Vanderbilt got a win, but that's the only thing they have left on their schedule. That's the only team they have left on their schedule is Vanderbilt.
How crazy was that upset, man? Who was expecting that, Deeds?
I mean, what else do you expect from a kid from Connecticut? When you have a kid from Connecticut playing quarterback, that's what happens. and for everybody that doesn't know, Will Levis is from Madison, Connecticut. So
Oh
That
man,
explains all you need to know about Will Levis.
man, that was heartbreaking to watch, man. But man, Deech, you hit it right on the money about the Louisville versus Clemson. Clemson's won 31-16. You hit that right on the money, right on the button.
Yeah, I mean, you knew Clemson was going to bounce. You knew they were going to bounce back, and Louisville is not anything right now. I was just looking at Tennessee. Tennessee's at South Carolina this weekend. That's their last test. That's their last test.
I don't know.
I mean, they've got South Carolina and Vanderbilt coming up. None of those games are going to push Tennessee up the rankings. So they really have to just hope that chaos ensues.
And I don't see that. I don't see no chaos going to ensue that bad where they move up in that poll that crazily. I don't see it, man. But
I mean, everybody's rooting for TCU, and I'm sure we'll get to them as we go. Mm-hmm. But you know, I'm kind of rooting for some kind of chaos to happen where we get 3 SEC teams in the playoff, because and people ask why I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for that because that will blow up the whole system. That will blow up this whole that'll be the thing that sparks everybody when a conference has 3 out of 4 teams in the playoff.
Man, the Iowa State game versus Oklahoma State, man, that was a great game, man. A good defensive game. Oklahoma State pulls it off, man.
It was a very strange game for the Big 12. You know, we've said it all the time. Big 12 where defense is optional. Well, they actually showed up and played. Both teams actually showed up and played some defense. So it was nice. It was nice to see that. You know, you get that every once in a while in the Big 12.
Yeah, it definitely was a great game, man. Good defensive game, man. But
and then you end up with games like Texas Tech, Kansas, which is 43-28. This is what the Big 12 does to you.
But you know, I mean, we gotta give a clap for Blake Corum, man. Averaging 5.5 yards against Nebraska. He had like 166 yards or something, I think.
Yeah,
what a game for him, man.
The kid's amazing. He's a stud. He's the best player in college football, and there's no question about it after watching all the games for the last 12 weeks. There's no question about it. He should be outrunning. He should be lapping the field for the Heisman Trophy. But it's going to come down to what he does against Ohio. It's going to come down to what he does against Ohio State. That's the only thing people are going to remember.
But man, let's go on to the battle of Nick's disciple versus Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, man. That was a great game, man.
Great game, but what happened in that game? Nick figured it out. Nick figured out Lane Kiffin. That's all that happened. And Alabama did everything in their power to give that game away early. They let Mississippi jump on them early, and then I'm guessing Nick went in there at halftime and lit a fire under his guys, and they came out, and Alabama was able to bounce back in the second half.
And another underrated game, man, I enjoyed, man. Washington versus Oregon, man. That was a hell of a game, man. Did you catch some of that?
I did catch some of that, and final play of the game, Bo Nix turned back into Bo Nix. Guy's wide open, and I know he was injured. I know he was injured the previous drive, and you know that probably is what did it. But you still can't spike the ball when a guy's wide open 30 yards down the field. You can't throw it 20. it just that, but that was it. And Washington escaped and basically killed the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is dead.
Yeah, I didn't think Kansas State was a 31.3 team better than Baylor, man. What happened there, man?
Yeah, Kansas State showed what type of team they are, and when they have Will Howard, and when they have that option game, when they run that option game, they've this is typical Kansas State, and when you let Deuce Vaughn do what Deuce Vaughn does, Deuce Vaughn is an amazing specimen to look at. I mean, he's like 5'6", and he's 5'6", and then all of a sudden he breaks through holes and he's gone. I mean, man, you want to talk about a guy? It's Darren Sproles 2.0.
What man? What else? What other games? Another game that shocked me, man. Florida State tearing up Syracuse, man, 38-3.
I told you on Saturday that was gonna happen. That was gonna happen. Syracuse was a nice story, but they were driven by their quarterback, and they don't have their starting quarterback, and a team like Syracuse is not going to be able to overcome that.
And the Miami game surprised me too, man. University of Miami getting dominated like that, man.
I mean, this is the third week in a row that we've said that about Miami. So it's not. You shouldn't be shocked. Miami's given up. Miami's thrown in the towel. They're done. And whether they're bowl eligible or not, if they even go to a bowl game, they shouldn't go because it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just been really I don't understand why they even bring Mario Cristobal then to that team. It don't look like it changed none.
No,
with switching of the guard.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed anything. And bringing Mario Cristobal in didn't change the culture because he coached with Manny Diaz. They were on the same staffs at Miami. See, it's not like you changed the culture. You didn't change the culture. You just brought in a new voice. But the team hasn't changed. They're the same team as they were last year. So.
But man, that TCU game. Let's get to the TCU game, man. What's your thoughts about that game, man?
It was a typical TCU game. I mean, this is what they've done all year. They hang around. Max Duggan makes a play or two, and all of a sudden, boom, game's over. TCU wins. That's what they've done all year, and it was funny leading up to that game. All the announcers, everybody was talking about Texas. This is the one that's going to get TCU. So it'll be interesting to see how the analysts react to the fact that TCU won the game. Because what these people typically do is they say, oh, this is the game that's going to get them. This is the game that's going to get them. And then when they win the game, they go, well, they didn't win. They didn't look impressive enough. So we're not going to give it any prop. No, you were saying they were going to lose the whole week. They go out and win. You have to tell you after they win, you have to give them their props. And you have to say, no, they won the game that we didn't think they were going to win. So we have to give them credit for that.
So who is your biggest winner of week 11 for the college football? Who's your biggest winner? Who's your biggest loser?
The biggest winner by far was TCU, beating Texas they're gonna hold their spot, and in my eyes, they should be third. They should be third, based on their schedule, based on the things we've seen on the field. They should be third when the playoff poll comes out. I'm pretty sure the playoff committee is going to keep them at 4 because they love Ohio State for some reason. But yeah, TCU is the biggest. TCU is the biggest winner. You could put LSU on that list. You put LSU on that list too, as biggest winner. As we talked about, clinched a spot in the SEC championship game. That's enough. That's enough of a win right there. So it's between those two teams, and I'll have to make a decision by Thursday. But
I definitely was going
right
with LSU.
Right now, I'm leaning TCU as being the biggest winner because, like I said, everybody expected them to lose, and they go out and win, and it keeps them in the playoff.
So, who's your biggest loser of the weekend?
Biggest loser is the Pac-12, the entire Pac-12 conference. And people can point to USC. They can point to all of that. Yeah, that's great. But Oregon's loss knocks them out. You see that. I mean, if you didn't stay up till 3:00 in the morning on the East Coast and watch UCLA Arizona, that game was wild. But UCLA losing to Arizona knocks them out, and I don't see a road for USC to build themselves back in. I don't see it, even though they have UCLA this week and then Notre Dame next week. I don't see those as enough to boost USC into the playoff discussion. Not at this point. So I think the Pac-12's done.
Yeah, man, it was definitely not the shining moment. You know what I mean? The best moment as a conference. But let's move along to NFL, man. You know what I mean? You know what grinds my gears, though, Deets, about these 49ers? These other teams blow their chances by keeping a vanilla defense. I'm like, why don't you put some stunts for Khalil Mack, Bosa, Derwin James? You know what I mean? It's not that difficult. Make the math make sense, Deets.
The math is the Chargers need to. The Chargers have the worst head coach in the NFL. They need to change head coaches. And what's going on in Los Angeles is absolutely ridiculous.
You look at Anthony Lynn smiling on that 49ers sideline. Like, I felt good for him. Like, you threw him on the streets and you still getting the same results.
So, I mean, the Chargers did what the Chargers do. They let teams hang around and they end up losing the game at the end of and they end up losing the game. That's the Chargers' way.
Also, I gotta give the biggest loser that receiving corps for the Chargers, man. Justin Herbert was throwing some dimes at tight end, should have caught it. It would have been a touchdown. I think that was around like the second quarter, maybe. Like, there was a lot of drop balls by the receivers, man. It was a lot of drop balls. I don't know if you was watching the game or not Sunday night.
I was watching that. I was watching the game. I was watching the game with all the 49ers fans at the bar. And the whole time just going back and forth of watching that game was just it was typical of every other game. It was just like, all right, can we get this over with? Nothing happened in that game that made me go, oh, I want to watch this again. I was like, can we end this? This game was boring.
like to this day, man, I'm hearing, you know, what I mean, I was on the chat today, listening to Snowman in the morning. You know what I mean? I respect Snowman, but I don't think they're really a dangerous team. I I see Kansas City. I think Kansas City will get it done between against it. They don't want no shootout with Kansas City in the Super Bowl. That's something they don't want because they wouldn't be that offense wouldn't be able to handle that. What's your thoughts about that?
Uh, the 49, yeah. I mean, we've already seen the 49ers play Kansas City. We saw what happened. We saw what happened. They weren't able to hang. They weren't able to hang with that Kansas City offense. Now, a lot of people on the other side would say, well, that was Christian McCaffrey's first game. It was this, that, and the other thing. But we have to respect what we saw on the field. And that's the one thing that we did end up that we saw in that game is that and the 49ers can't win a shoot. They're not going to win in a shootout.
Nah.
That's the thing that the 49ers can't do. And that was the thing that the Chargers it was unbelievable that the Chargers just never pushed the ball down the field. They never even tried it. They never even attempted it.
And Deets, let's move along with that. I gotta give Mike McCarthy a shovel, and that the whole coaching staff. That's what y'all should have won that game.
How you have a guy who has 115 yards and yet you're allergic to giving him the ball late in the game. I mean, run the football. It was amazing. Every time they ran the football, Tony Parker he was getting Pollard. Tony Pollard was getting 5-6 yards a carry. He was getting 5-6 yards every time.
And they quit running the ball.
Was gashing the Green Bay defense. And yet they would run the ball, get 6 yards, and then drop back pass, and a disaster would happen. I mean, this is what the Cowboys do. This is what Mike McCarthy and his offense does. There was no need to – I mean, Dak Prescott throwing 2 interceptions in the red zone. You can't have that.
Run the ball. You're in the red zone. Run the ball. Run the ball.
But it's run
the ball.
It's baffling. You had a guy who had 115 yards. Just give him the ball. But the Cowboys, that's not what they want to do. They want to throw the ball around. They want to do all this other stuff, and it's like, why are we trying to reinvent? I mean, I've been bringing it up on my show all the time. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? Just run the football
and put what you call Michael Parsons' hand in the dirt. like, come on. It's simple math. Put his hand in the dirt. He's one of the premier pass rushers in the league. Put his hand in the dirt. Let him go after the quarterback. Everybody knows Green Bay got a soft offensive line. They soft like a Maryland crab cake. Okay, go attack that line. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
I didn't understand any of what the Cowboys were trying to do yesterday. Even when they were ahead by 14 points, you're ahead. Why are you throwing the ball 3 straight plays, 3 and out? Run the ball, run time off the clock, and let your defense rest and make it so that Aaron Rodgers is one-dimensional. But Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers does against the Cowboys. Let a comeback, and then once it got to overtime, I was like, yep, well, this game's over.
Man, what's something about, man, that's what I love about Colt McCoy, man. He will give you one game when you need him. He'll give you one game when you need him. Don't ask him for multiple games. You've been doing this with the, Washington Redskins, aka Washington Commanders now. He'll give you one. You know what I mean? And he did give him one against the Rams without a Matthew Stafford. But man, what you gotta say about that, Deets?
That game was like watching. That was like watching. And I don't mean to put this down, but that was like watching a FCS. That was like watching an FCS game.
God,
I mean, that's what it was. That's what it was. I mean, Colt McCoy versus John Wolford. If you told me the Rams quarterback was named John Wolford, before I even saw him play, I would have told you the Rams aren't going to score any points. Because I don't know who John. I don't even know where they got this John Wolford from.
Yeah,
the first time I heard his name was when I looked up at the screen and was like, "Who the hell is that guy?" Like, I think they just grabbed him out of the crowd and was like, "Here, you're our quarterback."
But Deets, let's move on from that game, man. Jeff Saturday gets his first win as a head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. What's your thoughts about that game, man? It was an ugly game.
Amidst all the lead up to everything, all the lead up to that game, oh my God, why is Jeff Saturday the coach? Why is Jeff Saturday? How did Jeff Saturday get this job? Jim Irsay went outside of whatever. He didn't hire a previous coach. He hired a guy with no experience. He should have hired a lot of the criticism. Oh, he should have hired an African American. Good for Jeff Saturday. You know why Jeff Saturday won the game? Because Jeff Saturday is a former offensive lineman. So what did they do? They ran the football. And they ran it right down. They ran it right down the throat. And they didn't stop.
147. What you call ran for 147 yards, averaging 6.7 yards. Jonathan Taylor, Jersey on.
Interesting what happens when you have a healthy Jonathan Taylor, right?
Also, they made Matt Ryan look like Lamar Jackson. He had 38 yards rushing and 1 TD. What's going on, man?
He was great. Matt Ryan looked like Matt Ryan, and Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor. Like it. I mean, it's interesting. They fire Frank Reich, and then all of a sudden they get their two best players healthy. And look what happens. Look how that team looks when their best players are playing. I know, shocking.
Do you think Josh McDaniel gets another year with this terrible season he's having?
Yeah, I think you have to. I'm not one of these guys who, all right, one year and you're done. I think especially with a guy like Josh McDaniel, I think it's gonna take a couple of years, but I mean, so I'm of the he should get another year, and then you make your decision, but that offense is too powerful to not be producing the way that they are.
Yeah. Another game was a shocker, man. These terrible Saints, man. The Saints becoming Aints again.
The Saints just find a way. I think they just find ways to throw the ball to the other team. There was one play. You want something that defines the Saints. There was a play. The guy literally caught the ball, and yet somehow it ended up in the other team's hands. It went right into the wide receiver's hands, he should have come down with it, and all of a sudden I'm watching it and the other team is running the other direction. That's the Saints football this season, is even on a completed pass, you still get intercepted.
Yeah. Man, it's another good early game, man. I was watching, man. The Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Chiefs. That was a great game, man. Trevor Lawrence looked it good. You know what I mean?
The Chiefs did what the Chiefs. The Chiefs did what the Chiefs do. They jumped out to an early lead, and the Jaguars did what the Jaguars did. The Jaguars did what the Jaguars do. And this is why the Jaguars are so frustrating, is that they let teams get out to the big leads, and then they start playing, and you're like, wow, this team looks really good. But the fact that they got out they got in such a hole that they couldn't come back from.
But I mean, the Giants, man.
I like what's going on in Jackson. I like where I think Jacksonville's finally headed on the right road.
I like Dougie P.
I like Doug Peterson too, and I think they're headed in the right direction. But it's not, it's not going to be a bit of, it's not going to be an all of a sudden turnaround. It's gonna take some time. I still think they're 1 or 2 years away.
I think so too, man. I think they're a couple years away from being, you know what I mean? Because they're in a soft division, man. The AFC South is really no anybody can win that division every year.
They're in a division that is gonna be topsy turvy. I mean, you really think the Colts are gonna stay where they are? No, I don't think so. The Houston Texans, who knows what's going on in Houston? And the Tennessee Titans. Once the Tennessee Titans are Derrick Henry or bust. So once he's gone, they're gonna go back. They're gonna come back to the pack. So the Jaguars are in a good spot as long as they just stay to the plan. I mean, I know it's become cliche, but just follow the process. The process is working down there.
Well, you know what I mean? Right now, I got to give Coach Brian Daboll, props, man. What he's doing with Daniel Jones is amazing. You know what I mean? What he's doing with that rushing attack with Saquon also.
To me, it's I said it on the program. I did an entire half-hour segment on the program. It's amazing what happens when you get a coach who understands, hey, we don't have to do some elaborate offense. Just hand the ball to your best player.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how much it makes all the other guys look better. That being said, the Houston Texans are one of the most garbage teams I've ever seen.
I just think they just lack talent offensively. Like,
I'm not even talking about with them. Defensively, guys for the Giants were running 20 yards down the field with no one around them.
Jeez.
I mean, the wide receivers were wide open, 20 yards down the field. Like, every time I looked up to that game, because we had all 4 games going, we had 5 games going in the 1 o'clock. Every time I looked over, there was a Giants guy running wide open down the field.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Their defense was as atrocious as I've seen anyone play.
Let's talk about the catch of the year, man. Justin Jefferson's catch, man, in that Bill game, man. I think it's up there with that D-Hop catch, or it might be, slight better, man. What you thought about that catch he did, man?
That catch was good. The catch of the game was the catch of the year was on the other side. Was Diggs with that one hand, he just stuck it. And he just stuck it with one hand and got hit by two guys, and he just that was the catch of the year. Granted, it didn't help. It didn't help them, but that was that end of the. I mean, we wouldn't be talking about that. The thing about the Justin Jefferson catch, we wouldn't be talking about that catch if Josh Allen could field a snap.
Yeah,
and not only that, if he doesn't fumble it in the end zone, what are you doing? How do you not get that? How do you let that lose you the game? That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
But Justin Jefferson, man, what a day for him, man. 10 receptions for 193 yards and 1 TD. That's a crazy day.
Yeah, he had one TD because it should have been a second one. He should have had that second touchdown, but they called it back. Or no, he was down at the 1 yard line. They called him down at the 1 yard line. I mean, they might as well give that fumble recovery touchdown to Justin Jefferson because he should have scored on that play.
You know what I mean? Then we're going to move along to another terrible game. Broncos versus the Titans. That coach just need to get fired. I don't even want to talk more.
Nathaniel Hackett. Offense. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett was this, and I've heard people say this. I don't know if this is a knock on the players or if this is a knock on the coach. To me, it's a knock on the coach. I heard it said where, this offense is sputtering because it's too nuanced. If it's too nuanced, then that means you're not coaching it well to the team, or the team can't understand the concepts you're trying to run. And if you can't do that, you can't be the coach.
Exactly. Simple said. You know what I mean? But, man, what reports are you hearing? Is Watson playing this Sunday coming up?
From all I've heard is the suspensions. I mean, if you're the Cleveland Browns, what do you have to lose at this point?
How many games he had? I thought he had 11 or 10.
I thought he had 10. I thought it was a 10-game suspension. I thought he would be back. I figured he was back. I haven't heard anything. It's funny, we haven't heard anything about Deshaun Watson. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll let him play this year. I really don't. I really would be shocked if they put him on the field. I mean,
because you know what I mean. I'm tired. You know what I mean. I just watched the highlights of that Browns and you know what I mean Dolphin game. I really didn't want to see it, man. I knew Dolphins were going to do what they do, man, and blow them out pretty much, man.
Yeah, the Browns showed what they are. They showed what they are. They are run the foot. They're a running team that if you stop their running game, they can't do anything else. And that's what Miami did. Miami basically said, we're going to pack guys in and we're going to stop the run and we're going to make you throw and beat us. And they couldn't. And then they couldn't cover anybody. And Miami basically could do whatever they wanted on offense.
Exactly, man. But, you know, another game, man, I didn't expect to be so high scoring. Lions and Bears, man.
Lions.
That was a real high scoring game, man.
Lions and Bears, oh my.
DeAndre
That's
Swift,
really
man.
all you could say about that game. I mean, I thought the Bears had that game in hand, and then all of a sudden, two plays, Lions go down and score. Next play, the Lions harass Justin Fields. He ends up throwing it to the other team, and all of a sudden, it's 28-28.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that was a crazy tournament. Then, of course, the Bears score, and what happens? They miss the extra point. I mean, that was just typical Bears, typical Bears Lions. That you lose because you miss an extra point.
And you know what I mean? If I'm Justin Field, I'm just playing the rest of my contract out, man. I got to go, man. That line, you can't get mad at him for running, man. That line is terrible. I think that's the worst offensive line in the league.
Yeah, the Bears have an awful offensive line. They knew that going in, but that's what you sacrifice when they made the move to go get Justin Fields. When they made that trade in the draft, they knew we're not going to be able to re-spark this off. They gave up the draft capital, so now. So they weren't able to replenish that offensive line. Now they have to go forward and try to piece it together with whatever draft pieces they have left. They have to if they don't use every draft pick on the offensive line next year, I don't know what the hell they're doing over there.
You know what I mean? In another game, man, Tom Brady gets to win in Germany, man.
Tom Brady in Germany, and it's similar to the Cleveland Browns. The Seattle, Tampa Bay said we're gonna stop the run. We're gonna pack guys in so that you're not gonna run the football on us. And you see what Seattle is when they can't run the ball.
Yeah,
they can't. They dared Geno Smith. They dared Geno Smith to beat them, and. And Geno Smith was Geno Smith.
He had a good game though. He had 2 touchdowns, 286 yards. He had a good game.
He had a good fourth quarter when that game was in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, the game was the Bucks already had that game in hand. They were basically just saying, "All right, throw the ball underneath, and we'll come up, make tackles, and we'll get out of Germany. We'll get out of here with a win." That's when Geno Smith put up most of his yards. Because up until that point, I think he had something like 101 yards, and then the fourth quarter he exploded.
I like the tandem of Rashad White, and Leonard Fournette, man, running the ball, man. That was a good tandem that game. You know what I mean? Also, we had a sighting from Mike Evans.
When Leonard Fournette when he decides to play, yeah, he's a really good back. The problem is Leonard Fournette doesn't play like that. It's inconsistent. When he's great, that Bucs offense runs. When he decides not to play, they look like garbage. And again, Tom Brady basically throwing the ball to everyone but Mike Evans.
Yeah, Godwin had a good day too, man. Godwin had a good day. You also seen a sighting from a future Hall of Famer, Julio Jones, man.
Julio Jones. Look what happens when the Bucs have their full complement of guys. Tom Brady looks totally different.
Totally different. But you know what I mean? This is gonna be like the last little segment. You know what I mean? I'm in the chat, man. On Snowman in the morning. And you know what I mean? My biggest thing about this, man, the whole debate, man. you gotta put him in the rafters for longevity, man. You look at this man, 45 years old, still zipping that ball, man, and you gotta say, man, this is a bad boy right here. He gotta be the baddest of all time.
You're not gonna get any argument from me. I've said it. I think Tom Brady's the greatest. I think he's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. And what I use for that is I know that I know the argument. I know the argument is always 4-0. 4-0. All right. Well, Tom's got 7, and 3 of those games are he was the underdog going into the game. That's what I use to differentiate Tom Brady is those upset victories. And yes, I understand he lost some games where where the Pats were heavy favorites. Okay. Okay. I'm okay with
even
that.
against the Philly game, Deets, even in the Philly game when we lost to Philly, he threw for 500 yards, Deets.
Yeah, exactly. In the losses, none of the Super Bowl losses were on Tom Brady. It wasn't like Tom Brady came out and played so bad that they lost. Like Tom Brady can't play defense. Tom Brady can't knock the ball away from David Tyree. Tom Brady can't make Asante Samuel catch a ball that's thrown right into his chest that if he catches it, he runs it back for a pick 6 and seals the game. Tom Brady can't cover Plaxico Burress when Asante Samuel fell down. So
also, we should call a kid Nate Wes Welker.
Tom Brady can't throw and catch the ball when he hits Wes Welker right in the chest on a 4th down. That would have sealed the game. The game would have been over if Wes Welker makes that catch. So Tom Brady can't do those things. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, they lost the game. Yeah, they lost. Yes, they lost. But they also won 7 of them. Tom Brady also won 7.
Come on.
Last time I checked, 7 beats 4 every time.
And that's why I told him. I said, man, the longevity of Tom Brady, and he did not. Kraft did not force him out. Belichick didn't force, Tom Brady to leave New England. He left on his own stuff. He said, man, hey, Bill, I don't like the groceries you're bringing for me. The skill position we have right now are not to the level of a Super Bowl contender or winner or champions. He said, I got to go somewhere I can win. And I got to respect that. He knew that roster we had that year he left was not Super Bowl contenders at all.
No, he got tired. He got tired of playing with nobody wide receivers, and he got tired of playing. Mm-hmm. And he got tired of playing. And he did what every New Englander does. They get tired. They get tired, and they get tired. They get tired of the cold, and they move down to Florida. That's what every New Englander does. Every New Englander, when they get tired of being in the cold, they go and they move down. They move pretty much down to Tampa. That's pretty much what they do.
Hey, Deets, and to say this, man, if Tom had the All-Pro, most of the time All-Pro receiver, one of the greatest to ever do it for 10 years, we talk about a different discussion.
Look what he did. Look what he did when he had a healthy. Look at the season Tom Brady had with a healthy Randy Moss.
25 TDs for.
We talk about the one season he played with a fully healthy and fully engaged Randy Moss. What did the Patriots do? Oh wait, he threw for the most touchdowns in the history of the game.
Yeah.
He set a record for passing yards. He set a record for passing touchdowns. Oh, by the way, they were 16-0. Oh, by the way, they finished the season undefeated. They had an undefeated regular season. And yeah, they lost in the Super Bowl to the most ridiculous play in the David Tyree catch. It was the most ridiculous catch the most ridiculous play ever. And Rodney Harrison, every time I see Rodney Harrison on Sunday Night Football, I'm like, why don't you just bat the ball down? Why didn't you just bat the ball down? We wouldn't be having this discussion.
Deets, I just need to take another drink to that, man. I'm drinking a beer right now, Modelo. I need to take a drink to it. Like that's just simple math, man. Just bat the ball down.
I mean, this is what we're talking. You think about what we would be talking. Like we wouldn't even be having this discussion if they bat that ball down and they go 18-0. If they have 18-0 on their if you add that to Tom's resume, there's no argument. There's no argument.
I don't think there's an argument right now, but
I mean, they're the only, like I said, the only argument people have is 4-0. Is Joe Montana was 4-0. Like, okay. I mean,
which calls 4-0?
We're not talking about whether Joe. Well, we're not saying all right, Joe is garbage. No, Joe is great. We're talking about separating the greatest of the greats. We're not talking about we're not talking about that. And you could go down anything. I mean, the skill level of both players, everything Joe did great, Tom doesn't do great. Everything Tom does great, Joe didn't do great. So the skill levels are split right down the middle. It all comes down to what you put your criteria, what your criteria of greatness is. It's why we do it. It's why on Fifth Down Sports Show, it's why we do the Summer of Greatness it's why we do these debates in the summer and we talk about this stuff, because it's about the criteria. It's the criteria that matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing else comes into the equation.
It's like being a pitcher. It's all about the wins. So I want a QB that can win me the game and get me there multiple times. And that's Tom Brady.
Huh.
I think overall he's the greatest leader I've ever seen, man, as a QB, man, in my opinion. There's nobody getting motherfuckers' ass like Tom Brady. You don't give a fuck who you are, Bill O'Brien. He know how to take command of that huddle, man. And people ready to run through a wall for him. I think him, I'll say this. Him, Ray Lewis, they're probably one of the greatest football motivators I ever seen. Them two right there.
I mean, you think about all the players that have played with Tom Brady. You haven't heard one person say you haven't. The only people you hear say bad things about Tom Brady are people that don't like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But anybody that's played with him, you never hear anybody say anything bad about Tom. Like you say, oh, Tom Brady yells at people. Nobody's ever said Tom Brady was an asshole. Like nobody says that. Nobody says that about him because they love playing for guys like that.
And the crazy thing about it is, man, the 49ers tried to get him to come. He said, nah, no thank you. You know what I mean? The 49ers, when he was a free agent, tried to get Tom Brady to come. He's like, nah.
Because he wasn't gonna do that. He wasn't gonna do that. He wasn't gonna do that to Jimmy G.
Yeah.
I know Tom Brady was one of the reasons why Jimmy G got sent out of New England. But he wasn't going to go in and be like, you know what, Tom Brady knew, hey, Jimmy G's already proven himself here. Why would I go there and trample on this other guy? I'm not doing that. I'm going somewhere where they don't have a legacy, and that's why he chose Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and it was a great decision by him. But Deeks, what do you have coming up this week?
Coming up this week, well, we're looking forward to tomorrow night. Of course, the newest bowl rankings will come out. So, which, by the way, what the hell? Why I hate when they do this. When they do, oh, we're gonna have this stupid college basketball tournament, which is meaningless, stupidest basketball tournament. And then in between it, they sandwich in. Oh, by the way, during the in between games, we're gonna release the rankings. Like, what the hell are you doing? The rankings should not be released sandwiched in between two stupid and don't get me started on the Champions Tournament. It's one of the worst ideas. I mean, why do we have to watch the same teams play in this every single year? It's so stupid. It's so dumb. But yeah, so we'll be talking about the rankings, and we'll be giving you the real rank. We'll be giving you our rankings, which are the real thing, and we'll be breaking down all the chaos. So that's where we'll be. We'll be setting up the chaos scenarios, and we'll get you ready for week 12. Week 12, and we're 1 week. We're only 2 weeks away from Championship Saturday. So.
What's up, Jamie G? What about JSU 10-0, man? Great win over the weekend. But yeah, man. I'm not looking forward. Like again, I'll just watch college basketball in March, man. That's the only thing that matters. That tournament, March matters.
Exactly. No one cares about college, and they were talking about it on the morning show today. Oh, why is college basketball? I'm like, I've been saying this for years. College basketball, no one cares about the regular season of college basketball anymore. No one cares. Why? Because it's all about the tournament.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same players next year. Like, everybody's one and done, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. No. You know, none of the guys are going to be around. You know, it's not like you're looking forward to. All right, well, I want to follow this guy. No, you're watching them for 1 year rentals. It's stupid. And college football should be looking at this and saying, is this what we want our regular season to be? Do we want our regular season to be as useless as college basketball's regular season?
Exactly. But man, what else you got going on the show, man?
Well, that's basically what we're going to focus on, and then of course we're going to talk NFL. We're going to beat the dead horse as long as we can beat. Why running the football is important. It just gets proven every single week, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tonight. See if the Eagles can keep their undefeated season going.
I think that game is going to be closer than a lot of people think, man. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, man. I think it's going to get out of hand at the end.
I think Tyler Hanke. I think he keeps the game close, and I think the Eagles win. I think the Eagles win, but I agree with you. I think it'll be closer than people think.
But this has been another episode of Midday Sports with Rod and the Lunch Crew / Fifth Down Sports. Go check out. When are you going live, Deets? Thursday?
Thursday night. We're gonna shoot for 8:00 because I don't care about Thursday. I don't care about Thursday football anymore. I don't care about Thursday night football.
Go check them out Thursday at 8:00 at Fifth Down Sports Show. Make sure you go hit the subscribe button on Fifth Down Sports and hit the like button, man. And this has been a Monday edition of Midday Sports with Rod and the Lunch Crew / Fifth Down Sports. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. This is Rod and Deets, and we're out.
All right, guys. Have a good one.